My name is Jerry Otto. I've been in the Alaska oil field for 45 plus years. Came up here in 1981, started working in the oil and gas I started out as a welder and transferred over into the drilling part of it. And now I'm actually a company man. I'm running the projects. Building oil rigs, modifying oil rigs, brand new oil field up here, and we modifying rigs to bring to Alaska. And I was contract welding down lower 48, and offered the opportunity to come up and continue building rigs up here in Alaska. 1980, 81. We probably go back all the way back in the 79s when the backfill stuff's kind of started rolling in. Came up right after the pipeline was completed. Worked with some of the best welders in the world. I ain't going to say in the United States. I'm going to say in the world. I wasn't one of them, but I worked with some. I was privileged enough to work with some of the best. I came up for Arctic Alaska drilling. They at the plant at the time they had plans. They build exploration rigs. They built a Hercable, a drilling rig, that a 20,000-foot drilling rig that will fit inside of a Hercules 130, and we can bring it out into remote locations. At the time, he's going to build 17 of them. Of course, that never. We built a couple of them, but we never built 17 of them. Then we break them down. It's 140 with the camp, 171 loads. It's a lot of loads. Being I was a welder and helped build these rigs, and a lot of these tool pushers or supervisors never seen these rigs before, but Jerry did, because Jerry helped build them. So I was a very key part of the infrastructure. After we moved these rigs up, I kind of knew how to put them all back together to where a lot of people never seen them before. We was out on KC1, and that was in Yamwar. That's the only well. That was 85, 86 seasons. It was a BP, Chevron kind of a partnership. Barter Island is what we called it. That would be a big job. Worked for Exxon out in the Point Thompson area, out in the Beaufort Sea. A lot of high pressure stuff out there. Down to Kenai, worked down there at Funny River Road with one of these rigs. I started out as a welder, and then when I jumped from the maintenance part of it into the drilling part of it, I just worked my way up from a floor hand to a pit watcher, a derrick hand, eventually into a driller, a tower pusher, tool pusher, and then eventually into the company man that I'm, company supervisor that I am right now. The rigs are around, they're not operating, they're vintage 1980, 81, 79, 80, 81 rigs, obsolete in many ways that they don't meet the air standards anymore. The Generation 5 generators are what you need, or cats, and these are Generation 1. So we're not meeting the air quality, so they're basically don't operate them no more. They were Caterpillar 396s and 398s. But like I said, they don't meet the standard air quality standard for the emission standards of what they got nowadays. Well, coming from the lower 48, it was quite a change. These rigs were winterized. wind walls, which that's something luxury we didn't have down south. We had tarps, but wind walls, boilers, they're quite a bit warmer. First started, we did not have that. We had Kelly rigs, spin and chain, rig tong, cat heads, boom lines, boom poles, and throughout the progress of my career, now we're into the top drives, the iron roughnecks. Just for progress. I mean, things have gotten better. The number one thing that I see that change in the industry, Alaska anyway, is the safety and the environmental is way different up here than what it is down in lower 48. The safety standard or safety stuff is way greater. Yeah, this one of the safest oil fields in the world. One of the cleanest. I worked on 105, 27, 22, 33. I did some modification work on 22 and stuff. The pull rigs was pull 7, pull 6, pull 4, which 4 is out on the Amwar for forever. Some of the wells we did was the sourdough wells, the Point Thompson wells, the Cook Inlet, the west side of the Cook Inlet, Purdy Creek, Ivan River, Lewis River, Stump Lake. Over there, we used the H&R rig, which was a very good rig. It was a mechanical rig. Moved easy, and they're the perfect rig for down here. We're working for a company called H&R Drilling. Once again, neighbors absorbed that company. The rig was shipped out of state. It was one of the best rigs, Kenai rigs, that we've ever had down here in the 45 years that I worked in the Kenai area. Yeah, they were exploration wells. Back in the old days, the Brinkerhoff wells or Brinkerhoff rigs went in there and actually did the exploration. We came in and either increased the size of the pad or put more wells on it, more gas or oil. Trading Bay was a similar deal. That changed ownership so many times, but we just go over and try to produce more gas so they could keep their plant running. Yep, all kinds of bears. We had bear dogs on the rig to help keep the bears away from us. And to this very day, they still got what we call bear dogs, guard dogs, to keep the bears away from people, basically. Mostly summer, early fall into winter. When winter, we did some winter operations, but the snow was deep and the cost would go way up. They're very challenging. Yeah, we had the Red Dog, the special barge. That was the number one barge that we used. Pick your battle. Do your homework. It's very nice over there. The summertime operations, a lot of wildlife. Like I said, bears, the fish come up there, and the bears hit the rivers. You see a lot of moose. Very hard drilling, though. It's not the simplest stuff to drill. I drill simpler. It's not like North Slope. It's just way simpler up there for formations. We've lost a lot of stuff. Not as much as the high pressure coal that's in the Cook Inlet. High pressure coal in the Cook Inlet, we've lost a lot of BHA, a lot of iron left down home. The guns were pretty much not allowed, but the fishing and stuff, when the crews got out, they'd go fishing down on the river when the salmon were running. And be careful. It's non-forgiving. High pressure gas is something that we're not accustomed to up here. When I say high pressure, 15,000 pound bottom hole pressure, so that's a lot of pressure. In Canada, not so much in Canada. Originally, on the Point Thompson stuff, North Star Island, natural North Star Island, not the North Star that everybody call North Star nowadays. This was a natural. They call it an island, more or less just a sandbar. Exxon was out there. We drilled that up, and then when we went from there to Flaxman Island, which Flaxman Island was about 4 miles away. But once again, high pressure zone. That Point Thompson sand is a very, very high pressure sand. The companies I work for, Exxon, Chevron, Texaco, I've done some exploration for Texaco. Conoco, not Conoco Phillips. This is the old days when there was just a Conoco up here. When we did the shell work, they were man-made islands out in the Beaufort Sea. We did Sandpiper's shell or seal and turn, I guess you'd call it. Now BP's got what they call a North Star Island out there. That was a combination of pieces and parts of the Seal Island, and they call it North Star now. But it's not the same North Star that Exxon had out there in the Beaufort. The Exxon days in the Flaxman and stuff would have been the early 80s. The shell jobs would have been later, late 80s. Yeah, we'd get out of some of them. It'd be my turn to use the phone. I'd use it for 15 minutes on Wednesday. And that was it. 15 minutes is what I had to call in. And your phone call would basically say, we're drilling ahead, nobody hurt. The equipment, no major breakdowns right now. There was no such thing as a morning call. This was a one time a week call. Yeah, no accident, no spills in the last week. In the last week, we've hurt nobody. We've had no major. When I say major breakdowns, I'm talking something that breaks to where you're down for 4, 5, 6 days, not 4, 5, 6 hours. Years ago, we used to have some major, be blow an engine up and you're dead in the water. In a emergency, like if we had the wells on fire, we had a blowout, we could make a call, but your communication was so that there was no cell phone, no fax, no nothing. When you came in, you carried your paperwork with you. You took that to the office out payroll, and then you went down and you ordered parts, and you buy the parts, you go down to like NOV, you load the truck up with what you needed, bring it to an airplane, and get it to the North Slope. And then when you went back to work, which was 7 days, we just worked 7 and 7. In 7 days, you go back up, and then you had your parts that you ordered, and you got them shipped up there to let you operate for 7 more days. And then your relief would do the same thing. He'd come in, and you just keep a continuous flow of inventory that way. 7 days on, 7 days off, but basically, but truthfully, I had a sister die, and by the time I got the notification she died, she was already buried, and I had no idea that she was even dead. I mean, there's no chance of me making the funeral. And she was in the lower 48. She wasn't up here, so. Yeah, the two pushers, supervisors used to work 7 days on, 7 days off. The rig crews worked 2 and 1, 2 weeks on, 1 week off. In wintertime, it just there was no people. You had to make crews. Yeah, it was more top secret back then. Way more. When I say top secret, not sharing. Everybody was they're still buying leases and stuff, and a lot of stuff you just kept it quiet. You always had to sign confidentiality forms that you couldn't say nothing to anybody. You'd load the derrick full of pipe. Even a helicopter flying over, they would count the stands that they see in the derrick and try to estimate how deep you are. So you'd have dummy pipe in there that was nothing more than just dummy. So if someone's counting that, they're going to say, you're 10,000 foot, and in reality, we're only 5,000 foot. There's a lot of stuff that they're trying to keep quiet. You go back to the early 80s, when the early 80s were first coming around. That's when most of this stuff, when people were still trying to buy leases, and they kind of kept things quieter, confidentiality. Just never spoke much. The rig sites are pretty well off limits to anybody. I mean, that was a major. That would have been a major deal. You go through Exxon, or you go through. I mean, you go way up high in the board. Ice roads. We used a lot of roll guns back in them days. If we used a Herc, there was an airstrip, so you had access to airplanes coming and going. The Umiak wells were discovered back in the late 40s, early 50s. Oil flowed to the top of the ground. I mean, there's just sheens in the Colville River up there, big sheens from water just boiling up, or oil just boiling up through the water. Right. It's all natural. Yeah. 112 miles from the Dalton Highway is what we had. 7 river crossings, and the 112 miles to get in there. Colville, last river. Umiak used to be a military base. There was a natural airport in there, so we could land a Hercable when needed. It had a big landing strip, gravel landing strip, and it made it nice, which we used it very little. We drilled a lot of wells. I drilled from the greater Moose's Tooth, the Sparks. I drilled from there all the way to Barrow. Somewhere in my career, just kept going, and all the way, like I said, to Barrow, which the Barrow gas field. Most of that was for Conoco or Arco. Dinkheim, Dinkheim was a legend at 80 years old. He was on the stillhead, and the stillhead burned down. The Mike Winfrey Sr. worked with Senior and Junior, father and son now. There's just so many people. I mean, there's just layers and layers and layers of people. Yeah, Brinkerhoff was Arctic Alaska Rig 1, which to me was a Brinkerhoff non-union at the time. He used to be an roughneck union up there. And we had Rig 1, which was Arctic Alaska. What all that was a non-union Brinkerhoff rig. And then from there, Audi, Alaska United, they built rig 2 and 3. So Brinkerhoff 1 and rig 2, rig 3. And then Arctic Alaska built 4, 5, 6, and 7. And it's just a chain of rigs. It's the same numbers. Big group of guys. They just kind of broke off and did their own, started their own little tiny companies, and neighbors. Unfortunately, neighbors owns everything now. There was a Everett Potter, Roy Richardson, George Brinkerhoff, Ed Sevendick. I can't remember the rest of them right now. Jack Dunbar. Quick Inlet, I worked on every platform out there except for the ferry platform. Ferry platform was put in 10 years ago. I've never been on a ferry platform. But every other platform out there, some time in my career, I've been on every platform out there. Different operators, which are no longer up there, like the Amical, they're no longer here. But the shell platforms, a lot of platforms are in pretty rough shape out there right now. They took most of the rigs off. We call them flat tops. At one time, all the platforms had rigs on them. Now the rigs are removed and they got movable rigs. They just go from platform to platform. Keene, used to have, man, used to be like 40,000 roughnecks down there when them, used to be Parker, Rowan. But North Road, that was a hopping place, man. Everything coming off of the rig tenders, what we call a rig tenders dock, which is still down there. We didn't have OSK back in them days. And we'd come in there and just there was the North Road used to be all bars, and getting a lot of trouble down there pretty easy. And they just, I do, but I ain't going to say them on film. Some pretty tough guys down there back in the day. Peak Oil Field, which used to be Kodiak, in Muckaluk, they were all Montana. Frontier, that was Montana. The Frontier pad, which Neighbors owns now. But there was a lot of people out of Rocky Mountains back in them days. They fit in because of the cold weather. They were used to it. There was no big major change to them. It's not. It's a drier cold up here. The wind. When I worked in Canada on the Beaufort, and there was no wind. Still had the cold temperature, no wind. No wind. It's a whole different ballgame. The Canadians come up into Alaska and try to work, and they have a very, very hard time because of the wind. They're not used to the wind. You know, you take them 40 below, now you're changing it to 70 below. Uh, 40 below. 40 below, you got to be very, very careful. 40 below, you start thinking different. Your mind don't quite work right. You work in the buddy system. Two people take care of each other. And if you start seeing confusion, you lose about 60% of productivity. So that 40 below, you really got to look to see if it's worth trying to continue the job, because you're losing on your productivity line. You're going backwards instead of forwards. Umiak at 5 months straight. 2 years, 1 year was 4 months. The following year is 5 months. Man, the last couple of years I've had like 270. In the 80s, the Kaparic was wilderness, man. We're still doing exploration in Kaparic. Past CPF2, it was that you use out no man's, what's called no man's land. Dead Horse was always more civilized. That was the main hub. There was a lot of businesses there. There never was a bar in Dead Horse. Coldfoot's the closest place to buy alcohol if they got it. There was a lot of bootleg, what we call bootleg drugs and alcohols. I'd say there's more back in the early days than what there is now. Yeah, they started X-raying bags. You're going through your security would become a lot stricter. And the oil field went from a 2-week to a 21-day rig move on these teardown rigs to we can move in 12, 8 hours or 10 or 12 hours now on these weld rigs. Used to take 6 months to drill a 16,000-foot hole. Now you're doing them in 15, 16 days. Just everything's better. The technology. I talked with a woman one time, and she had some tool she was running. I said, man, the technology nowadays. She said the patent on that tool was in 1940. They said they've been waiting for the oil field, the rig technology to catch up to where they could run it. Back in the old days, we would trip 8,000-foot well. You'd use anywhere from 12 to 20 bits. You basically trip every 12 hours. Nowadays, PDCs, you just stay in the hole. You drill for a week straight without ever tripping. They were faster. The safety factor wasn't in there though. Your iron roughnecks are slow in comparison to a rotation rig or rotary rig and spinning chain. I haven't seen spinning chain being used in 10, 12 years probably. Cook Inlet, maybe. The more platforms out there might be something going on. They ain't been out there in 10 or 12 years, so I don't know. You still see it down south in some of the old rigs. And when the iron roughnecks first came out, we had to train guys how to use an iron roughneck. I mean, there's a whole system in teaching people how to do something. I worked probably 10 years as a driller. I drilled both Kelly rigs and top drive rigs, mechanical rigs, compound rigs, HCR rigs. Now you got AC electric, PDR rigs, which is way nicer. Joystick, which is a brake handle. You can feel stuff happening downhole in a brake handle. You can actually, once you learn. If I was stuck, I'd probably prefer a brake handle. That's because I learned how to drill on a brake handle. Joystick rig, power up, power down. You can't get the momentum, the blows you need, the slack off, the slam, and the cowboyish, what do you want to call it? But in saying that, with the joystick will keep you out of trouble where you're not going to pull something in half either. Because it's slower. To where the clutch, when you hit a clutch, especially when you're stuck, I mean, your weight indicator goes from here to here, just boom. Some of these old rigs, there was actual gearboxes that would run. It was high technology. Hay hooks, what we call hay hooks. You lock stuff in there. I've had one slam down on me one time and got my feet caught from it got locked, and the rig crew had to get a hacksaw and actually cut what we call a hay hook off it. Cut it off to actually release it to where I could move my feet again, but my feet were actually caught. Got on my fingers. one or two crooked, but I got them all. You see more fights. The two people disagreed. There was none of this "I'm gonna write you up" type stuff. You punch him in the face, or you punch you in the face, and just get over it and get back to work. They did. Like anything, not all guys are accepted. And then they started bringing women Rothbouts and stuff in, and initiations kind of had to change. And they didn't, and there were just some big lawsuits. Not saying nothing bad about women. A lot of women were actually good roughnecks, if not better roughnecks than men. What I didn't like production drilling, cookie cutter wells. Everything's the same every day, like drilling, working on a production line. Exploration, every day is different. Even workover every day is different. When you get on a production pad, just drilling, everything is the same every day. Not fun. The sourdough wells, that was BP. Point Thompson sands are underneath you, but you stayed away from them. Just close to the Amware, you're drilling towards the Amware. Buford C, been out on the Colic, been out on the SSDC at the time. Cook Inlet, there's a lot of old stuff in the Cook Inlet. Yeah, the SDC, we could operate for 2 years straight without resupply. Once you get them out there and you set them down on bottom, I mean, they're floating islands is what they actually, not even floating, they're solid islands. The Colic was different because Colic had 12 anchors you had to set, and a storm could move you. If you got caught on the Colic, you'd unlatch, what you would call unlatch. In other words, your wellhead's down there, you push a button, unlatch, and you let the storm take you away. And then you come back in with the GPS and find your wellhead, you go back down, latch back onto it. I've never had to do it, no. But I trained to do it if I had to do it, though. Yeah, it take years. Once you get your main cruise, you know what you're actually what you're gonna do. BOPs are 15,000 pounds. We could not get a BOP test at surface. The guy said, you got to put it in the water. And I would never believe that in 100 years. Put it in water, held 15,000 pounds. It's like a bit on surface. Doing it in the ship on the deck up there. We could get that sucker hold 5,000 pounds. And I did. Drilled exploration down there, high pressure water. Took a kick down there, 1,100 pounds, water kick. 20 pound, 19.9. Yeah, the Point Thompson, the same thing as you're within her 19 pounds, and we was out in the Buford Sea on the Point Thompson sands. Glen Ellen, and back in the day at Point Thompson, everything was mixed on site. There was no mud plants. Big Lake, Point McKenzie, dump. So that's seismic well to dump. ConocoPhillips, blood, sweat, and rigs. Conoco didn't like it. There's a lot of safety infractions in there that they caught because of the film as it was filmed. And we got our hands slapped for it. What they're going into right now, it's a good career. Just pay attention, make yourself as useful as possible. In other words, just don't get stuck on one. I'm a driller. You make yourself versatile, and you can make a career. That's what I've done. I've never been out of work. I've never been on unemployment since I've been doing this in 45 years. But I'm versatile. I can operate equipment. I can weld. In other words, I might not get the position. I might not be in the position I'm in now, but there's someplace, they'll find someplace for me. I enjoyed welding, fabrication, building stuff. When you drill a well, you just drill a well. Nobody ever knows what it took to drill that well. When you build something, everybody look at it, say, wow, and you had to put some imagination or had to put some work into building that, you know what I'm saying? To where a well, you just see a well that's sticking out of the ground. 2 weeks after you drill it, nobody ever knows the kind of hell you went through to drill that well. Just get through a job without getting nobody hurt. Make final pipe, final depths, rather just discovery or not. I mean, just stick with the plan. If you got plan A, and plan A says drill 10,000 feet, make the 10,000 feet, and try to save money. But number one, try not to get nobody hurt or destroy any equipment. You get a lot of smaller contractors, especially coming out of lower 48 or cross country, and their safety is not the same as our safety. And sometimes you bump heads with people. To me, the accomplishment it's not the flow back. It's just making the TD whatever. They're saying we're going to drill 10,000 foot. I don't care if we hit 10,000 foot of water or 10,000 foot, 10,000 barrels of oil or 10,000 cubic feet of gas. I just made the 10,000 foot. That's what you wanted. That's what you got. Prudhoe Bay, I thought Prudhoe Bay was discovered. They were walking away from it. They drilled three dry holes, and they got down, and they had a little bit of money left. Instead, let's go a little deeper. They went deeper, and that was just discovery of Prudhoe Bay. Alpine, Pika, oil search, Santos, what you want to call them, the sourdough wells, the Endicott wells. Been a lot of discoveries. I've been on exploration almost every single year. Sometimes they carry over from last year, same well, but just a continuation. Nowadays with the fracking and stuff, and I mean, which the way I would do it, I drill a well and it's got to produce oil before I even consider fracking it. You don't drill a well, don't produce nothing, and frack it and say, well, now it's going to produce. That don't work. Disappointment would be like the Nana job. I think that was a discovery, and nobody would agree with me. Poor mud logging, poor geologists. Well, gas, but I think we've in something way better than gas. Oil. I would. He had thousands of units of gas, but it wasn't after gas. Just the smell of it, and the oil coming over the shakers, and I mean, we blew it. Or I'd say we didn't blow it, they blew it. Going north, headed for Barrel. I mean, just another 30, 40 years of oil up there. Not the elephant oil that they're used to, but stuff we used to call, we drill a well, produce 1,500 barrels a day, and it's considered a dry hole back in the day when they was producing 30, 40,000 barrel a day wells. 1,500 barrel a day well was nothing. I mean, that was junk. Now they're going back in these little fields and picking them back up now because we depleted we got the diesel oil out. Now we're going back after this, after the marginal stuff, making it pay. I do. Well, north, headed towards Barrow, that is north to me. From Dead Horse MPRA, all that, yeah. But I can't say east. When BP and Hercable, BP went south, which down to Dalton. They never had a major discovery. Hercable went north towards Barrel, and they never had every well they drilled or something. So oil moves like a river. It just about a million years ago there was oil out there, but now instead of north, it's headed for the Secrecy, Siberia. It's going north. In other words, Dalton Highway, a million years ago, there was oil out there, and all that's left now is remnants. It produced 12 billion barrels of oil. We took 12 billion barrels of oil out of the ground up there. Technology, they've basically done it safely. I mean, we still got your hiccups, but it's not like the lower 48. They're not killing people every day. Lower 48, if you ever look at statistics of fatalities in the oil field, it really surprise you on how many people die every day or every week down south, and we're not doing it up here.